Hello and good morning friends, welcome to the CEC EduSet live lecture. Dear friends, as you know that we are carrying a series on operations management, and so far we have conducted numerous lectures under this very series, and we have discussed on various topics, various aspects of operations management. Today also we are going to conduct another lecture on operations management, and today we are going to understand 7 tools of quality control. What are those 7 tools? So dear friends, I would like to tell you all for this description, for this elaboration. Today we have again with us in our studios Dr. Subhash Kakkar. Dr. Subhash Kakkar is an eminent academician, and with the help of various workshops, seminars, conferences, as well as various research papers, journals, he keeps on sharing information, he keeps on enlightening the masses. So dear friends, let's take advantages from his experiences and let's try to understand more about the 7 tools of quality control. So without wasting any time, I would like to welcome our guest, Dr. Subhash Kakkar. Dr. Kakkar, welcome to the EduSet lecture.
Thank you, Geetika, and welcome viewers. Today's topic is 7 QC tools. It is part of the series of lectures on operations management. 7 quality control tools. These are very simple tools. Then we have 7 advanced tools also, and 7 management tools also. And these tools are very popular in the industry. Before starting the lecture, let's review the contribution of Japanese in the manufacturing industry. They have given us world-class management techniques to carry out manufacturing with highest productivity levels and highest efficiency levels. They have given us JIT, just-in-time, lean manufacturing. When we talk about lean manufacturing, we have to identify the wastes produced during manufacturing of products, and even in the service industry, what all wastes are there, and to identify them. And then finally, how to eliminate all these wastes to see that our operations are lean. This has come from JIT concept of manufacturing. Then they have given us TQC, total quality control, and now we have TQM, total quality management. Since 1970, Americans have also understood the contribution of Japanese in the field of manufacturing. Japanese people went ahead of Americans as far as manufacturing techniques and the concepts are concerned. Basically, North Americans and managers started copying Japanese techniques so that they also improve their efficiency, so that they also improve their productivity. Japanese people have given us 5S scheme for housekeeping, for improving the housekeeping standard in the organization. It's not only housekeeping. With improving the housekeeping in the organization, we improve the morale of the employees. We improve the productivity of the employees. We make employees satisfied. We make our organizations and shop floors inviting. When our customers look at the operations, they get the satisfaction. And with this result, quality is improved a lot. Japanese have given us 7 QC tools also, advanced tools also, management tools also. And today we are going to discuss all those things regarding 7 QC tools. when we are talking about Japanese contribution to the world class manufacturing, they have also given us design of experiments. Their quality gurus have contributed a lot to the industry. When we talk about their positive points, there are certain negative points also. The negativity lies that they have less number of women in their manufacturing units. They are a little gender biased. When they give employment to the workers, to the employees, they do the thorough investigation of the employee's background. They talk to their family members, they talk to their community people, they talk to the people in the village from which the employee has come. Once they get all the complete satisfaction, they employ them. Then they don't employ the workers for lifetime. There is a retirement age in Japanese industry. So these are certain drawbacks. Even if the drawbacks are there, Japanese are ruling the manufacturing industry because of their contribution, because of their hard work. They look at the problem thoroughly and they look at the solution, which is the easiest one, which gives us the result without much of efforts, and a systematic approach is adopted. And today we are going to discuss 7 QC tools. When we are having operations, when we are running any industry, whether it is manufacturing industry or service industry, we face problems. When the problems are there, we want to have solution to these problems. And for having solution to the problems, there are tools available. We can make use of these tools to find the best possible solution to the problem. When the solution is sought, the same is implemented to get rid of the problem. So today we are going to discuss these tools which are available to us. We will also see how to make use of these tools, what are the benefits of these tools, and we will discuss in detail. And these tools are simply known as 7 QC tools. The 7 QC tools of quality is a designation given to a fixed set of graphical techniques identified as being most helpful in troubleshooting issues related to quality. As I have said, these 7 QC tools are available to us to find a solution to the problem. Basically, these are used to troubleshoot the problem. And they are basic tools because they are suitable for people with little formal training in statistics. And because they can be used to solve the vast majority of quality related issues, that is why these are called 7 QC tools. And these are very simple in nature, do not require any statistical deep knowledge. With some amount of knowledge in maths, one can understand the tools and one can use the tools to solve the problem. And these 7 QC tools are listed here. The first one is Pareto diagram, second is cause and effect diagram, third is graph, fourth is check sheet, fifth is scatter diagram, sixth is histogram, and seventh is control charts. We will discuss each of these tools in detail. Pareto diagram. Pareto from Italy, he gave the idea that 80% of the wealth in Italy is owned by only 20% people. So, Pareto diagram, he also called it 80-20 analysis. We will discuss it in depth also. And similarly, cause and effect diagram. This is also known as fishbone diagram and Ishikawa diagram, because this diagram was given by Ishikawa, and that is why we call this particular tool as Ishikawa diagram also. And fishbone, because this diagram is in the form of fish bones, that is why we call it fishbone diagram. And also cause and effect, because we write the causes, we write the effect of those causes in the diagram. Next is graph. We make graphs to understand the variability of the variables, and these variables are responsible for change in quality of the manufactured product. And similarly, scatter diagram also. Variations are plotted on a scatter diagram, and the relations are seen between the different variables. Histogram. The graphs in the form of histograms, vertical as well as horizontal histograms are prepared, and then see the analysis part, what these graphs tell us. We will discuss in detail also. And then we have control charts for controlling the parameters of a process and see that we manufacture quality products. All these 7 tools we have to discuss in depth. First one, Pareto diagram. Pareto charts are type of bar charts in which the horizontal axis represents categories of interest rather than a continuous scale. The categories are often defects. Say for example, a pizza company is in the business of delivering pizzas to the customers, and these delivered pizzas are checked for any defect, and these deliveries are checked for defects, and these defects can be wrong pizza size, wrong crust, wrong topping, late delivery, and then maybe pizza received partially eaten up. All these defects are represented on the x-axis, and some frequency is checked. Say for example, 100 observations are checked, 100 deliveries are checked for these defects, and for individual defects their frequencies are counted, and these frequencies are plotted on y-axis. On x-axis defects are plotted, and on y-axis their frequencies are plotted. First, all these defects are listed and their frequencies are also listed. I have said that 100 such defects will be checked and total frequencies will be 100. Now, we have to arrange these defects in descending order. The defect which is having the highest frequency is written at point number 1, and the next highest is written on the point number 2, and so on. And then the percentage is calculated, and cumulative percentage is also calculated, and these percentages and the cumulative percentages are taken on the y scale, and on the defects, as in the histogram, vertical bars are drawn, and straight lines are joined from the middle of these histogram bars. And then we have the Pareto diagram. Wherever 80% cuts off, so we have to concentrate the defects which cover the 80%. If we are able to remove these 80%, we are sure that this problem we have solved. As far as customers are concerned, we are able to satisfy the customers. So, this is the way to use Pareto diagram. I will explain it in detail. This tool is based on the idea that majority of defects are caused by few defective items, which classifies a quality problem into the vital few and trivial many, 80-20. So, we convert the defects into 80-20 scale. A cumulative percentage line helps you judge the added contribution of each category. Pareto charts can help to focus improvement efforts on areas where the largest gains can be made. The idea is we have to make minimum efforts and we have to get maximum results. Idea is have only 20% of the efforts and have 80% of the results, and this is given by cause and effect diagram. And this is the cause and effect diagram which I already explained. This is also known as Pareto chart. In this diagram, on the x axis, some of the defects are mentioned which have been noticed, and on the y axis their counts are mentioned, and then finally under the x axis we have written the defects, we have written their counts, and we have written their percentage also, and finally we have written the cumulative percentage. Say first defect, it is 21 defects found. Second, 10 defects are found. Third one, 8 are found. And the fourth, 6 are found. And the last one, 5 are found. Percentage wise, the first one is 42%, second is 20%, third is 16%, fourth is 12%, the last one is 10%. And the cumulative percentage is also calculated, 42%, then 62%, 78%, 90% and 100%. Now, since we said 80-20, we will mark the line of 80% and we see what all defects are covered in 80%. We have marked the line at 80% and first, second and third defect is covered under 80%. So, if we remove these 1, 2 and 3 defects, we will get rid of this problem and we will be able to satisfy the customers. Red line marked on this graph is cumulative percentage, and this histogram sort of bars, vertical bars are giving their individual percentages. And this is the way to draw the Pareto diagram, and this is the way to use it. So, this gives us the idea what all defects be attacked so that we get rid of the problem. Procedure, how to make this graph? Decide on the problem to be addressed or items to study and collect data. So, we have to collect the proper data. Decide also the period for which the data is to be collected and analyzed. Arrange the data in order of decreasing size, means descending order. Calculate the cumulative number and percentages. Draw horizontal and vertical axis on graph paper. Draw the bar graph, draw the vertical axis on the right edge and scale it draw the cumulative curve, and then complete the diagram with titles and units of reference. And this is the way to draw the Pareto diagram. Now, we will discuss cause and effect diagram. This is simply also known as C&E diagram, which is cause and effect diagram, Ishikawa diagram, because Ishikawa, Japanese guru, has given the idea of this diagram. This is also called fault or fishbone diagram. Why it is so called? Because it is in the form of a fish bone. Let us explain what this tool is. Cause and effect diagram is also called fishbone diagram because of the way it looks. Ishikawa diagram for the inventor Dr. Kaoru Ishikawa. Main categories and how to do it. This is the diagram. Look at the diagram. There is a straight, horizontal, bold, black line, and on the end of it there is a rectangle where it is written problem, desired, improvement. So, what is the problem? It is written at the end of the straight horizontal line, and there are bold, black, inclined lines taken from this horizontal line. These are the main causes of the problem which can contribute a defect in the direction of the problem. So, what all causes are there for the problem to occur are written on these main dark lines, and from here, from each of these lines, more lines are taken which are drawn, and these are sub causes. So, there are 4 things we have discussed: a horizontal line telling us the flow of the problem on its end. The second is we write the problem, we write the statement of the problem. Inclined lines taken from this bold line, which are dark bold, are the causes for this problem, and these are the probable causes for the problem. And the 4th, sub causes are also written on these main dark lines. So, causes, sub causes, and the statement of the problem, and we draw the cause and effect diagram. So, how to solve the problem using this method, this tool? What is cause and effect diagram? A visual tool to identify, explore, and graphically display in increasing detail all of the suspected possible causes related to a problem or condition to discover its root causes. And this is not a quantitative tool, and the diagram, the way I have told, it is to be drawn like that. Why use cause and effect diagram? It focuses team on the content of the problem, creates a snapshot of the collective knowledge of team, creates consciousness of the causes of a problem, builds support for resulting solutions, focuses the team on causes, not symptoms, to discover the most probable cause for further analysis and action, to visualize possible relationship between causes for any problem, current or future, to pinpoint conditions causing customer complaints, process errors or non-conforming products, and to provide focus for discussion. And this is the reason why we use cause and effect diagram. Under this diagram, if we are manufacturing a product and there is a problem in the manufacturing, there could be 5 causes for the problem, and these causes could be man means manpower, employees, machines, methods, materials and measurement. These 5 M's are the causes for the problem, and these are 5 key sources of variation in the product, and these can contribute variation in the quality of a product. I will repeat: human beings, manpower, machines, methods, materials and measurements. And the 6th one is environment. So, 6 are the probable causes. So, use cause and effect diagram to single out variation sources within the 5 M's plus V plus 1 E. So, there are 6 probable causes. Again we will repeat: transactional / service, and here in the transactional / service industry, the possible causes are people, policies, procedures, place, measurement and environment. So, 4 P's plus M and E, 4 P's plus M and E are the probable causes in the transactional / service industry. So, there are 5 key sources of variation for the quality. So, how to draw the fishbone diagram? Fishbone or cause and effect diagram. Look at the top straight line. Some portion is covered for causes and a small portion is for the effects. Okay, now we will cover the causes, we will cover the effect, and our effect is the problem. There are certain causes which will have an effect equivalent to creation of the problem. What are the causes which can create the problem? We have to list them, and this main category of causes are written on the bold lines and sub causes are written on the small lines. This is the way to draw the cause and effect diagram. Now, shows various influences on a process to identify most likely root causes of problem. Here, constructing a cause and effect diagram. Our main causes of the problem are machine, methods, materials, manpower, etc. And these causes are written after brainstorming. We call the people and they discuss what all main causes could be for which this problem can occur, and these are listed and written on the bold lines which are taken from the main bold horizontal line. And during this brainstorming, then each one cause is again analyzed. What could be the reason if we have materials as a problem? Probable sub causes can be non-standard items, late deliveries in the material, and similarly in the machines, poor maintenance can be the reason, poor preventive maintenance, and manpower, not trained people, not skilled people, not qualified people, not experienced people. So, we have to write all these probable causes in the sub-cause lines. Fishbone diagram, now we are taking an example. The problem is late pizza deliveries on Fridays and Saturdays. This is a problem which is being studied by a pizza company. We will draw the main horizontal line with an arrow. Arrow shows the direction of flow of the problem, and at the end the problem is written, and we have written late pizza deliveries on Fridays and Saturdays, and this is the problem. So, after brainstorming, we have to find out the main causes of the problem which can create this particular problem, and these main causes are machinery or equipment. People is again a cause for this problem. Methods can also be a cause for the problem, and materials can also be a cause for problem. Now, we have to see what are the sub causes which are attached to each of the main causes and which can contribute to the creation of this problem. People, when we talk about people, sub cause can be people don't show up, is one, and this is taken as a sub cause. Drivers get lost. Drivers are in the category of people, so their problem is also written, their cause is also written as a sub cause under the main cause people. So, we have identified two sub causes for a main cause, which is people. People don't show up and drivers get lost. Similarly, on the machinery part or the equipment part, which we have taken as a main cause, the sub causes are unreliable cars, unreliable bikes, and second is ovens too small, and this is part of the equipment problem. So, that is why it is written in the machine/equipment cause. Now, we talk about methods. Under the methods, poor handling of large orders, poor dispatching, because these are related to methods, that is why we have written these two sub causes on the main cause, which is written as methods. And now, materials. If we discuss the materials, the sub causes can be run out of ingredients, and this is the sub cause under the materials, and all this information is given to us by brainstorming. Now, each main cause and its sub causes are again reviewed. Whichever is applicable to our problem, that particular sub cause and the main cause is highlighted. Others which are not applicable to our problem are ignored. Now, all these highlighted causes and the sub causes are written on a piece of paper, and a solution is sought to get rid of the problem. So, we have discussed all main causes, all sub causes which can create the problem, and then we have identified the main cause and the sub cause which is applicable to our problem, and finally, we have found a solution to these sub causes to get rid of the problem, and this is the way to use cause and effect diagram. Same example, now in more detail we have discussed. Late pizza deliveries on Fridays and Saturdays. Under people, we have discussed people don't show up. Why they don't show up? Low pay, high turnover is the reason. No teamwork is also one more sub cause which we have identified during brainstorming session, and then no training has been provided to the people. So, this is also a sub cause. Get wrong information. poor training, rushed orders, drivers get lost, high turnover and don't know town details, don't know addresses. That's why we get lost and our deliveries are late. So, under people's we have discussed now so many other sub causes also. Under materials, run out of ingredients, high turnover, poor use of space and inaccurate ordering, lack of training. So, materials, again there are sub causes, we have listed them all. Under methods also again we have discussed in the brainstorming session and we have come up with other sub causes also. Don't know town, high turnover, poor dispatching, many new streets are there, lack of experience, high turnover, poor handling of large orders. And these are again sub causes which are related to the methods. And as far as machinery is concerned, we have also listed more sub causes, unreliable bikes, low pay, no money for repairs, and then kids own junks, no capacity for peak periods, ovens too small, high turnover and poor training, poor use of space. And under these also we have listed the sub causes. Now, these are all possible causes, all possible sub causes which can create the problem. Then again we have to brainstorm and find out the causes and sub causes which are applicable to our problem only. And then we have to find out a solution to these problems again through problem solving session. Identifying the causes and sub causes related to our problem and then finding a solution to these causes and sub causes and implement them and get rid of the problem. This is the way to use cause and effect diagram, which is given by Ishikawa and known as Ishikawa diagram, and it is also known as fishbone diagram. Physical cause and effect construction, cause and effect fishbone diagram can be constructed two ways, paper and pen, usually more effective when working in a team. May take multiple sheets of flip chart paper. Many teams find it helpful to do the flip chart method first because it lends itself to group dynamics. Everyone can see and participate easier. Then we have a software available. Minitab is a software for making cause and effect diagram. Very helpful when sharing diagram with an audience outside of your team. When we are discussing in team, we use manual method, paper and pen. Each member of the team is involved in drawing the diagram. We make use of flip charts. And the second method is use of software. Again the team members are involved in making the fishbone diagram. Use of Ishikawa diagram to recognize important causes. Where exactly is this particular diagram used? Where we want to find out the root cause of the problem and the important causes which can create a problem or which are creating the problem, and to get rid of the problem only attack those causes and sub causes which are creating the problem. To understand all effects and causes, to compare operational procedures, to find major solutions to the problem, to figure out what to do and to improve the process. All these uses we can have from Ishikawa diagram, fishbone diagram or cause and effect diagram. Now, another tool is graph. Graph refer to the results of statistical analysis of data, numbers which are shown in diagrammatic form to communicate information. We have to communicate some information to others. This is one of the tools by which we can do that. Now, suppose we want to show the sales year wise, or we want to show On one side, amount spent on the marketing activity, and on the other side, the corresponding sales turnover. So, on x axis, money spent on marketing activity can be written, and on the y axis, the sales turnover can be written, and a graph can be drawn. Just looking at the graph, one can understand what is the impact of money spent on the marketing, and with the result how much sales we get. So, there are different types of graphs available. We can make use of these graphs. One is bar graph, line graph, radar graph, and pie graph. Say pie graph. On this graph, for example, if we study the income of citizens in our locality or residents in our locality, we can mark the income in interval form, this range to this range, and this can be shown in the form of a pie graph. And similarly, bar graph, line graph, which are simple to draw. And these bar graph, line graph where only two variables are there and we have to show them on a graph, we make use of line graph. Now, what is this radar graph? Radar graph is where we have more than two variables and they are to be shown on a graph, we make use of a radar graph. With this, 3 variables, 4 variables, 5 variables can be shown on this radar graph. In this, we have more than 2 axes available to us where we can show the variation in more than 2 variables. Say for example, we want to show the marks of the students on a graph and the number of subjects are say 5. So, we will use pentagon radar graph and we will have 5 scales. On each scale, we will mark the marks in one subject. There are 5 scales, marks in 5 subjects will be shown on this radar graph, and we will visualize the performance of the student. Now, if we are talking about the radar graph and the marks the students get in the exam, and this is a pentagon radar graph, we want that the pentagon should be as large as possible and as uniform as possible as far as the performance of the student is concerned. Why as large as possible? Because more marks, the bigger the pentagon will be. If it is uniform pentagon, it means the student has contributed equally in all the subjects. So, this is the meaning of as large as possible pentagon and as uniform as possible, so that we know the exact performance of the student in all the areas of study. So, there are numerous types of graphs as listed are commonly used: bar graph, line graph, and radar graph and the pie graph. Each of above graphs is applicable based on analysis requirement. So, here are certain graphs shown. Bar graph, the first one is bar graph. Data are shown in the forms of bars. Line graph in the form of line on x axis, x and y axis. The radar chart is also shown. This is in the form of a radar, and here we have 6 scales, that is why hexagon radar chart is made. And we have a pie graph also. This is a pie graph, attendance chart. Okay, this is shown in the form of a pie graph. So, these are examples of different graphs being used as 7 QC tools. Check sheets, another tool. Check sheets are sheets that are designed in advance to collect the necessary data easily and systematically, which allow the efficient checking of all items for inspection and verification. Say for example, in a factory, we want to know the leaking taps. First, we will have to do one thing. We will have to mark all the taps available in the factory. We have to number them 1, 2, 3, 4, so on. Say if there are 100 taps, 1 to 100, we will have to list them on a piece of paper, and we have to see leaking taps. One of the mechanics will have to go to each tap and see whether it is leaking or not leaking. If it is not leaking, he will put a tick. If it is leaking, he will put a cross. Cross will show that this particular tap is leaking. On daily basis, he can write it on the piece of paper. Date wise, he can mark ticks and crosses. Now, looking at this sheet, this is called a check sheet. Looking at this sheet, we can know a tap which was found leaking yesterday, whether it has been attended today or not. If the cross repeats, then it means this particular tap has not been attended. And the fellow who is looking at this sheet or who is monitoring the leaking taps can find out the reason for not attending to the leakage of this particular tap. When he goes deep into the problem of a tap repeatedly leaking, he can find out the reason and then finally finds a solution to this problem. Finally, we want that all taps should give us a tick mark and nothing should be leaking. Now, this is the use of check sheet, and then we have locational check sheet also available. Location is also marked where the problem is occurring. The same problem of leaking taps, if the taps are marked on the plot plan of the factory, see 100 taps are there and a plot plan is taken and the location of each tap is marked, and 1 to 100 taps are marked on the plot plan. Take this plot plan and mark the leaking taps on this plot plan. Again with the same method, tick the tap which is not leaking, cross the tap which is leaking. So, this will also give us the location of the tap where exactly the problem is existing. Similarly, if we are manufacturing products, say for example, a shoe company is manufacturing shoes and a final product is being inspected and the defects are being noted in the final finished product. So, we can have a list of say 10 defects which are possible on the pair of shoes being manufactured and inspected, and against these defects we can have the frequency marked. With this check sheet we can know what particular defect is being repeated more number of times and which defect is repeated less number of times and which defect does not exist at all. And similarly, we can have a locational check sheet. We can have a diagram of the shoe made on the sheet itself, and this diagram will show us lower sole, inner sole, upper laces, etc. If the defects are found in the upper of the shoe, a tally mark will be made on the upper of the shoe in the diagram. If some defect is found in the sole, and a tally mark will be made on the sole of the shoe. And similarly, if lace is found defective in the lace area, the tally mark will be made. And so, we have locational check sheet available to us. And looking at the locational check sheets, we can find out which particular defect is being repeated more number of times and needs attention. And this is the way we make use of check sheets. Procedure: specify the aim of collecting data, decide on the item to be checked, decide on the method for stratification, format the check sheet, analyze the data, make clear the causes, and implementation of countermeasure, grasp the effect, standardization of operations to practice the new and improves methods properly. This is the procedure being used to get rid of the problem using check sheets. Scatter diagram. This scatter diagram is a diagram where the relationship between two characteristic values are plotted and analyzed as to whether a correlation exists between the two set of data. Several types of correlation could be found from scatter diagram. So, scatter diagram is made between two variables and the points are plotted on a graph, and then relation is seen whether there is any correlation between these two variables. If there is a correlation, what sort of correlation is there? So, positive strong correlation, negative strong correlation, positive moderate correlation, negative moderate correlation, and absence of any correlation. And the 5 possible outcomes can be analyzed and studied. Which one is applicable? Just making the scatter diagram we can come to know. And this is one example of scatter diagram. X axis BTU out, y axis BTU in, scatter diagram for BTU, and these points are marked on the graph. As we see this diagram shows a positive strong correlation as BTU out is increasing, simultaneously BTU in is also increasing. There is almost a straight line relation, and this is highly correlated positive relation between these two variables. So, procedure: collect and count the number of data, determine the largest and the smallest value of data, means L and S values are to be calculated from the data, select number of classes, bars, etc. Say number of data 30 to 50, 51 to 100, 101 to say 300, and the number of classes are 5 to 8, 6 to 10 and 7 to 13. Find the class interval, which is H is equal to L minus S divided by K. Determine starting point of classes, calculate mid value of each class, half of the measurement unit, and count frequency data and prepare the histogram. And this is the procedure for making the histogram. Histogram, now we will discuss the histogram, which is another tool which is part of 7 QC tools. Histogram is a vertical bar chart that depicts the distribution of a set of data. It is a useful tool to study the dispersion of data and analyze certain quality parameters, quality characteristics of the product or service to which the data in histogram refers. A histogram does not reflect the process behavior over time, but it gives some information how the variable has changed during the past few years, past few months. And this is an example of histogram. This is in the form of a vertical bars, and we can have horizontal bars also. Now, we have already discussed its procedure and scatter diagram. Purpose is to identify the correlation between two variables, whether there is any correlation, positive, negative, etc. A scatter diagram shows the correlation between two variables, and these variables could be critical to quality CTQ of a product. So, viewers, today we have discussed 7 QC tools, which are basic tools which do not require much of statistical knowledge and much of knowledge regarding mathematics. One can make use of these tools to get rid of the problems in the industry. Thank you so much.
With this note, thank you, sir. Thank you so very much for giving a precious time as well as precious inputs to this particular lecture. Thank you once again.
Thank you.